Welcome everybody to my technical class session about bow speed and orientation on your fingerboard this morning. First of all, I would like to say a big thank you to the Viola da Gamba Society, in particular to Mary Aiden and Ibi Aziz, who gave a lot of their time to make this event possible. Also a big thank you to colleagues of mine in the background which were supporting me indirectly. I will share my personal views how to find solutions to some challenges we are facing daily when we play on our instruments. I play the viol for a long time now, and I remember when I first started in the age of around 2.5 years, I got a sort of descant viol with the top 3 strings. I seem to have recognized that I couldn't make enough sound when I played on my tip of the bow. So my solution to this problem was that I turn my bow around and were holding it on the tip and use the weight of the frog to produce a stronger note when I reached the far end of my bow. Luckily, with the years to come, I discovered other solutions to these problems, and we might speak about them today. I often refer to our techniques we apply in playing as tools. I like to think that we as musicians, craftsmen, should look after them and polish some of them daily, some from time to time. So when we are in the situation to play our instruments alone or again with colleagues, we can pick up our polished tools and shine with them. Before we speak about our bow speed, we must make sure that our bow has the right tension, that the hair is in a good order, ideally not 20 years old, and that we put enough rosin on. I sometimes in the past, when I was studying, played on purpose without enough rosin on the bow to make my life harder to produce a good sound, and had to adjust bow speed, bow weight. But it was a very harsh way to get control. It was a big relief after having the right rosin again on my bow. I will demonstrate and speak about some problems we are facing, and I hope I will be able to help you mainly in getting aware, being aware about what you're doing and what effects you can have when you change your habits to the sound you produce. First of all, before we speaking about bow speed, we need to come in the right position of our bow on the string. The bow is about 3 fingers away, 3 to 5 fingers away, perhaps from the bridge, and in the right angle towards the string. This is often a problem to find the right position, because if we try to look in a mirror, it might be one way, but we must take into account that we're playing also the top strings, and if I do on a top string, it might look now for you a bit out of the right angle on the bottom string. So the best way to find the right lining up in the right angle is if you play in the middle strings. Then you will see it is in the right angle. You could use also a reflection you get when you look in a glass window or glass door when it's dark outside. Another reference point you can get when you look at the bottom line of your music stand and put your bow a line parallel to the music stand in front of you. Or you could pretend you do a Zoom meeting and put the camera on and look in the camera on the screen. Another reference point which I sometimes use when you have floorboards. You can use the lines on the floorboards. If you sit in the right angle or parallel with your bow to the floorboards, you can see if your bow is parallel to the lines of the floorboards. Or the other point which is important, the elbow is always hanging. The elbow never sticks out. No situation where you play like this. Always hanging. We have different possibilities to change our bow speeds. We need to come every time we change our bow direction to a stop. So we slow down at some point to stop and return. This we can practice. Some of us are quite rough by doing this and producing perhaps a sound like this. Which is quite rough and unrefined. So what we need to apply is changing the bow speed before we change our bow direction. I hope you can see the different speed I'm producing. So we can produce quite a nice sound by just changing the bow speed. What else we can use is, of course, when we change the bow speed, it goes often along with changing the weight on the string we produce. I'm speaking about weight, meaning arm weight, forearm weight, never pressure. Your forearm weighs about 2 kilos, 1.5 kilos, 2.3 kilos, and believe me, you don't need ever more than this sort of weight on your string to play fortissimo. So it's a question of releasing the forearm weight when you increase the weight and taking it back when you decrease the bow weight. This can go along with the bow speed, changing of bow speeds. Quicker bow speed, more weight, slower bow speed, less weight. This to master is quite a challenge to get a nice gentle note and gentle join. The third possibility to introduce with changing the bow speed is when you play on different positions. You might like to go from quite close to the bridge, away from the bridge, through doing one note. Again, this goes along with the bow speed. If we go further away from the string, you will find you can use a quicker bow speed to get a mellow sound with less weight. If you play quite close to the bridge, you can't have too much bow speed, otherwise the note won't resonate, as you can hear. So when we're closer to the bridge, we have to produce a slower bow speed. If you're further away, with the same weight, we can use a quicker bow speed and it sounds much nicer. All three possibilities need to be practiced by themselves, and then you combine some of them, say bow weight, bow speed, or bow speed and changing position on the string, or bow weight and changing position, or combine all three of them. This gives you so many opportunities and possibilities to influence the sound character you can produce on your violin. Then you will find a difference between the bow speed you apply when you play a stopped note. A stopped note is more forgiving, so you can be have a higher speed to get a round sound. I try to demonstrate. You see quite a big speed of my bow. The same speed, same weight proportion on an open string. Sounds in comparison very harsh. So what needs to be happening is we reduce the bow speed on an open string to get a similar sound quality we achieved on the stopped note. I hope you saw that I didn't change the position on my string. I just changed the bow speed according to the string, to the note I played, depending stopped or open. So now we come to the combination of a stopped note and open notes. And this is quite difficult to maintain control about this, because how often do we hear, for example, a phrase like this? I take a part of a scale. that two notes stuck out of proportion. And these were the two open strings. If you don't want to have them stuck out, you may choose to stop the note, so you play no open strings, but sometimes you like the open string sound character, but more fitted in the surrounding notes before and after. So if you want to use the open strings and not stuck them out too much, you need to reduce your bow speed when you reach to them, when you come to them. I hope it is noticeable how different quick I go from right to left and left to right according to which note I'm playing. When we come now to notes in slurs, which we might have to play, I change, in speaking about slurs in pairs, I change my bow speed to 99% on each pair, on the second note. If I wouldn't change the bow speed, it would sound like this. I didn't change the bow speed, I didn't change the weight, I didn't change the position. I think you heard a big, uneasy note production by doing this sort of bowing. I change, as I say, the bow speed on the second note, and extremely when I reach the open string as well. I think you find this is a much more elegant line you can produce with applying this technique. I use this pretty often also in French music when we try to play sometimes inégal. By not really playing inégal, this is one way of playing inégal, by just changing the character of the second note, by using less bow speed. And of course you can underline this by actually changing the rhythm as well. Something to explore. If you have a slur of 4 or 3 or 4 or 6, I slow down with my bow speed during the duration of the 4 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 notes. Notes on trills, bow speed in trills. We want to have a clear beginning, so we must make sure that we establish a rich sound by having enough bow speed to support the sound, but once the string is resonating, we just need to maintain the sound quality, so we can slow down our bow and our left fingers moving quickly. This is difficult to separate. I hear quite often this. So you play quickly with your left fingers and your bow goes quick as well, because these two hands are connected. We need to try to learn to disconnect them. So you can play long trills, still controlled by slowing down with your bow speed, but keeping the speed in your left fingers. Notes followed by a rest, end of phrases, or final notes. I come very often across this sort of approach. Last note. People taking the bow off and enjoying the resonance. This is a very nice way to do, and probably works very well when you play alone. It's harder when you do it in a concert of 6. How can you make sure that everybody takes the bow at the same part of a second off and have the same resonance left? It's not so controllable as if you slow down with your bow and stop on the beat. I demonstrate again. And this sort of technique I apply very often in acoustic-rich rooms, or when I play with a plugged instrument. I listen to the sound disappearing of a lute, theorbo or harpsichord. I'm listening to the resonance, I get back the feedback from the room, and trying to play with the natural decrescendo for the last note of phrases, followed by a rest or final chords, final notes. You will also, I mentioned it already a tiny bit, you can feel a difference in bow speed you can apply according to the position where you have your hair touching the string. So you will find out when you go closer to the bridge, you must have a slower bow speed, otherwise the note won't ring. But you can produce quite a nice sound by being quite close to the bridge, providing you're a bit slow enough. If you would be much quicker, it doesn't have the nice body of the note anymore. Sometimes you want to have a quite a rich, piercing present note, so you would choose this quite close to the bridge, but slow bow speed. On the opposite, when you go further away, total different character, same weight, but much higher speed. Another control about your bow speed, or good bow control, is when you practice just for your own having fun, playing, I call it overtone playing, by going quite close to your bridge, not much weight, and move your bow quickly. This is a very nice effect, not very usable in our concert playing, but you might be so extravagant to do it perhaps in a repeated version in a Baroque piece as an effect of a piano. Some people do. It is quite interesting to be in charge and in control of this sort of technique. Then we need to we have the problem often when we play on a while like this, a quite late while, with a combination between gut strings and wounded strings. If the transaction from a gut string to a wounded string needs to be recognized in changing your bow speed. If I reach a wounded string, the first note I'm playing is on purposely often played with a slower speed. Slower speed, so give enough time to set the wounded string, which is a tiny bit harder to set in motion, give it a chance by a slower speed to reach the movement of the string by slowing the bow down. When we have the luxury to play on a just gut string while, we must also acknowledge when we come to the lower strings, they are much, much thicker. And in general, I play further away from the bridge and change my bow speed according to the sound I want to do. You can't play with the same bow speed from the top to the bottom string with the different thicknesses of your strings. Now we come to an interesting point of bow speed, which I didn't mention yet. When we play on different strings, we have at one point no bow speed, and at the same point a quick bow speed in our right hand. What I mean, when we do string crossing, for example, octave from a D-tuned instrument on the C string D on top D. So we have a steady bow speed going from left to right. When we do the string crossing, we have zero bow speed, but we have at the same time a quick bow speed away from our body with the right hand. This bow speed is essential to reach the next higher or lower string. And this should happen just when the movement from left to right is not happening, so we don't hit the middle strings. This is something very good to practice. Ideally we don't stop on the lower string and then move up. Ideally we stop on the next free string, so we use the resonance of the first note we playing before we change. Again, I do a quite quick bow stroke, stop on the next note, then move forward with my hand and reach the top string, do a backstroke, stop on the A string, D is still ringing, and then I go down to the bottom string by stopping. This bow speed must be sometimes very quick. In connection to this found bow speed, we have another situation when we play chords. How often do I find people playing a chord like this? They reach the top note with no bow left. So two things happened. The initial feeling is we want to reach the top note, and we need to be quite quick because we have to play many strings. So we just close our eyes and be so quick as possible. But we lost all the bow. Even more when we start on the bottom string, playing 6 strings. So what needs to happen? If you don't move your bow from left to right at all, and you go just move your hand, my right hand, away from my body, what happens with your tip of your bow? If you don't move from left to right, you will find when you reach the top string, you're on the wooden part of your bow on the top string. This is happening because you lose the space between the two strings, and in this case it's about 10 centimeters. So you lose 10 centimeters in a push bow in a chord if you don't move your bow. So you have, with other words, you have 10 centimeters space to move your bow from right to left in a push bow. 10 centimeters. And if I use 10 centimeters, not more, you will see I reach the top note on the tip and have the whole bow left for beautiful, hopefully beautiful last notes. And this is what we're aiming for. So this movement from left to right, right to left is pretty slow, but the movement from the hand close to your body, away from your body, is very quick. So this gives you enough space and confidence to play a bit longer on the bottom string. Because you can be confident that you have enough power when you reach the top note. Another situation we come sometimes across is when you play different rhythms in a slurred version. So what needs to happen? This bow speed from left to right, right to left is very even, but the bow speed from your hand close to your body, away from your body, is uneven. You need to play, when you play the quicker notes, you move further away from the body. So quick 2 movements at the beginning and then slow 2 movements for the top 2 strings. Or when you then play this way around, according to which rhythm you want to produce on your open strings or in your chord, you need to adjust your bow speed to the rhythms you want to play. So, coming back to the chords, one more sentence, because we sometimes find us in the position that we need to play the last chord or chords in a backstroke. So what I said about what you gain when you do it in a push bow is 10 centimeters. You lose these centimeters in the back bow. So therefore we often try to avoid playing a final chord in a back bow. Because if you don't move your bow at all, also producing no sound, and just move your bow from the bottom string to the top string, you will find you lost 10-12 centimeters before you played any note. So it is possible to do it in a backstroke, and De Marchi loves playing last chords in a backstroke, and I first of all, when I played his music, I tried to avoid it, but then I followed his instructions and I found out if you start a final chord with a backstroke, you have more weight on the first note because you play quite close to your wrist, to your hand. So you can dig in easier by starting with the back bow and have a very light ending reaching the tip. It's worthwhile practicing. When we play two strings at the same time, I often come across people overcompensate the bow speed and weight. So we used to this sound, but this is not very elegant. So we need to try. We don't need to increase the bow speed or weight. We just need to make sure that our angle towards the strings is perfect. I would advise to play double stops in pianissimo. Then you will find out immediately if your angle is right. Once you can play two notes evenly in volume, you can decide to play the top note stronger or bottom notes stronger. And there's a good way to practice scales in thirds for highlighting the top line or bottom line. You come sometimes across playing three notes at once. For example, in Hume you might come across this, or in Beaumotier sonatas for two bass viols, where you perhaps like to play three strings at once. What needs to happen then? Quite a quick bow speed, not too close to the bridge, because if you go too close to the bridge, the curve of the bridge is quite round. If you go further away from the bridge, the strings are flatter, and you are more likely to hit three strings at once. Quite a quick bow speed and enough weight to hit three strings. It's fun to practice three parts at once. It's not that I want you to play chords always in three parts at the same time. It's just about finding the right proportion, speed, weight, position on your string in combination to achieve what you want to achieve. Then you might find yourself playing in a very acoustic rich room in a church or very dry rooms. According to this outside surroundings, you need also to adjust your bow speed. Experiment with this so that you will be always clear with your playing. And the last important part of using and finding the right bow speed is related to the emotions and expressions you would add to your performance. Never leave them out. The soul, the feeling is in your bow hand, in your bow, in the connection to your string. So work on this. It will be very, very rewarding once you master this. Now we come to a very big problem we sometimes face when we play very long notes and we have to change our bow. When we start normally on the tip, then we count, we run out of bow, we know that note carries on, we need to change. Some people wait for the last moment, close the eyes sometimes, perhaps look away, nobody will notice that you changed the bow, but we need to try to be in control. I always say never go when you have to disguise a bow change to the either end, extreme end of your bow. Try always to change earlier so you have about 4 or 5 centimeters left. If you go too close to the tip, the tension of the hair is very high and is very unforgiving for any untidy or unevenness of your bow. If you use the softness of your bow hair, which you reach here, it's more forgiving. So I try to sometimes change my speed, I try to do it with weight, difference in weight, but always being prepared. When you do the bow change, try to do it in a situation where you're off the beat. It is more disguised in a concert. Having said this, I try to avoid playing long notes on different bows. So I think most of you know the Gambler Sonata written by Bach, and I, as an example, use the first sonata, number 1027, G major. In bar 4 and bar 13 you will find long notes, which are, I think, 19 quavers long. In the past I often changed bow, and you will find often many performances where they will change the bow, but I challenged my playing and sometimes performed by playing them on one bow stroke when I felt relaxed enough to do it. I quite like to demonstrate this to you, and hope you can hear a note which will be continuously. I will use it with a metronome so you can count as well with me, and I try to make a crescendo in the last 6-7 quavers. If I'm lucky, it will happen. I do a moderate speed, 92 quavers, which should be roughly the speed you would like to choose. Thank you. So try to work with this. Challenge yourself. Extend the length of the notes you can play on one bow. So I think this is now the end of my first half about bow speed. If we have any questions now, it would be a good time to voice them, please. Ibi, is there anybody who would like to ask a question? I can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself, Ibi.
I'm sorry. Perhaps you could. This is a good time to address Madeline's question about how to hold the gamba.
Okay. Yeah, this is a very nice transaction into the second half of my talk about orientation of the left hand. So it's not just the left hand is important to have find the right orientation on the instrument. We need, as a viol player, we often are faced by playing different sizes. But if you play one size, we need to really get used into a habit to find a position where we can reach all strings without hitting the bow, the knee, or going into the knee. It is, I personally, so I just again speak about my personal experience. I like a 3-point connection on any viol to my body. I need to sit straight in the middle, not crooked, make it comfortable for a while. I try to be centered and right there we are. And the viol comes towards me. So if the viol is next to me, I pick it up, I open my legs and try to rest the viol on the palm, quite high, not too low. And I don't know if you can see it, but this edge, this front edge of my viol is the same height as my left knee. Not lower. Not lower. And this is, I think, might be a main problem. Other situation we're facing is if we play mostly top strings, we go quite far back on the right side with the viol, quite the top edge, the belly edge away from the knee. And if we play more lower strings, we make it a tiny bit to the front. But I think when we play normal, the whole range on the viol, make sure that this top corner is not lower than your left top of your leg. Then you have really never will hit the knee, never. Doesn't matter which size. I mean, you had a bass viol, I think. Okay, when we come to a lower strings, we move our viol away. So we need to, for the better orientation, Yeah, on 3 points. Also 2 points, 2 points on each palm, and the third point is on my body. I have a contact on my viol any size on my body, in the bass viol on the front, and the tenor viol is on my collarbone. Descant viol is here somewhere resting. I have a 3 point reference to hold my viol. So I know every time I pick my viol, I'm having the same layout and be more secure with finding my orientation on the fingerboard. If we change every time the situation, we start from scratch. Also make sure if you play different sizes of instruments that you know which instruments you're having. How often did I come across people in the concert when they swap around the played fingering on a descant viol on a tenor and vice versa? Make sure you know which instrument you're playing. All right, so this picking up your viol, putting it at the right position, look if you can reach all strings without going into your leg. And put your viol again away. And this needs to be done every time before you play, I would say 10-15 minutes, until you get really used to it. Put it away, get it in front of you, and make it secure. I had once a viol teacher who said I should be more connected with my viol. I played like this for many years, and it felt very unstable. My hand was far away, so I took my viol a bit closer, and sometimes before I play I make contact with my side of my head, but around the ear. Just say hello viol on the bass viol, hello, how are we? And then we can start playing. It feels very friendly then. Now, once we sorted out how to hold the viol, the different size, we need to look at our fingerboards. Having said this, I really urge you never to look at your fingerboard like this. When you do this, your body changes, your posture changes, and everything feels different. If you look at your fingerboard, which you should do and can do it in a mirror, in a window, or in front of a window when it's dark outside to get the reflection, or a glass door, or at your computer screen. I never thought I would say this, but nowadays computer screen seems to be the most appropriate. Look in your computer screen as if you would like to host a meeting. Then you can see your position of your hand. Now, before we come to the finding the position, how we position our fingers on the fingerboard, I think you got the warning that everybody should have a pencil. I have a pencil as an old carpenter behind my ear. Have a pencil. Can you grab a pencil and hold it in your left hand, please, and move your fingers around. This is something you can do to find a good finger position for your viol. If you do this in left hand, please, not right hand. I see somebody do it in the right hand because we're playing with the left hand. Thank you. I don't see many people, but I see just 3-4 people here. And if you look at your finger after you played around, look, where's your thumb? Naturally, it comes opposite, more or less, the second finger. And this is a starting point where I refer the thumb should be. I know, and you know perhaps as well, that in the past there were different positions for your thumb. The so-called old school, the first finger was opposite the first finger, and the new school, the thumb moved opposite the second finger. I mostly play opposite the second finger. If I change, I must know where my thumb is. So the thumb is the reference point for your fingers. Now, when we want to put now our fingers neatly on the fingerboard, I start in the I need to clarify first. A big confusion. I, as a viol player, can never cross half position, second position. I would like really to emphasize on first position is where the first finger is on the first fret. First position. Second position, first finger on the second fret. Third position, third finger on the third fret, and so on. Some people are surprised, or need to count often the frets. We have 7 frets, so 7th position will be not a problem. 7th position. I won't ask you to play a scale today in the 7th position, but this is what you can do at some point. So first position, to make it really clear, first finger, first fret. Okay, now I would like that everybody plays on the, in a minute, on the D instrument, a C scale, on the F instrument, an F scale. So we have all the same fingering. I will demonstrate first, we don't need a bow for this. So I play in the first position on play a C scale. I don't do it perfectly, I have many mistakes I'm doing. So just play a C scale to get used to it, but because I think some of you don't play very often a C scale in the first position. After 4, everybody, C stroke F scale. So tenors and bass, if you share the same room, you're in 4 parallels. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you. If you're relaxed with this, with the bow or plucking, practice both ways, then I think we need to feel the tension we create in our hand when we play the scale with this fingering. It's about orientation. We know the thumb is opposite the second finger, and when you play tablature, you very often come this sort of fingering I'm referring now. I would advise, also in concert music, when you play in the first position, try to make it as a habit that the 4th finger covers the 3rd fret. The 3rd finger should never cover the 3rd fret. Play a long time with this and feel how grateful your hand will be. Especially when you play a bass or also even a tenor. Descant is also possible if you not have very big fingers. It would be a bit cramped on the descant, I agree. So on the descant it's not so essential, but very essential, I think it would be very revealing on the bass. So this is what I quite like to do now. I demonstrate. The 3rd finger is not touching the 3rd fret, just the 4th finger. You saw my whole hand position was calmer, more relaxed, and I had more fingers very, very relaxed on my strings. I quite like everybody to try this. In your own time, or you can look at me, I count to 4, or you can do it at your own time. I try to be a bit slower and you can copy my fingers. 3, 4, 1, 4, 2, no, 3, 4, 3, open, 4, 1, this is something pretty new, perhaps for some of you. Explore this in concert music, where you have time to think. You will, if you feel your hand, there is no tension in it anymore. No tension. Another point I'm very keen to mention is, we learned, I remember when I learned playing the viol, put the 4th finger down, every finger is down, and I got a lot of tension. So I came to the conclusion I try to have always 1 finger more on the strings than necessary. So I will never play like this. I will never play like this. So a challenge for us all would be the C scale, playing any finger you like, but always add 1 more finger than you need. So if you are starting with an open string, we don't play like this. We need 1 4 finger. I put the 1st finger on F, for example. This gives me a better orientation. I just demonstrate. Open E, have the 2nd finger on. 1st finger on, 2nd finger still on. G, have the 1st finger on. A, have the 1st finger on. B, leave the 1st finger. C, have 2nd and 3rd, or the 1st finger on. Back again. I have always 1 finger more on the strings than necessary. 2 reasons. You have a much better orientation, And when you get skilled in this, you can put the finger on a harmonizing note. I always, when in concert, in last note, when I play the bass, I always finger a chord. Even I don't play it, but to get a better resonance. So I have more fingers, always more fingers than I need. So can we try this slowly? First position. I know it's very confusing. Slowly. We can do it together or you do it your own speed. 3, 4. Thank you. You won't be able to do it very quickly. It takes at least half a year to practice this. In the long run, it will give you stability and a better orientation. Now, the next thing I would like you to do is playing the scale in the second position. Second position, the same scale without any open string. Don't use of any open string. Slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you. When we go higher on the violin, the tension we feel in the hand is disappearing because our frets getting closer. So this is not the only reason why I play it quite often in higher positions. I play in higher positions because I like the sound of this note in a higher position. So I try always to find the right sound for the expression I want to give. For example, students who know me heard me saying, if you have a piece with 2 flats upwards, play in the 3rd position. Try this. Try to play in the 3rd position when you have 2 flats upwards on the detuned instruments, or 3 flats. You will be in heaven because there's no tension in your hand, ever. You can also practice to finding better orientation if you come in the situation that this evening comes a recorder quartet to you and you as a bass viol player, you don't want to tune your viol up. Play transpose a semitone. Play everything a semitone up without using the using the open string. You will find a new orientation on your viol. You will discover notes you never played before. Something was good to do. Now, we could play the same C scale in, just one more sentence. We tenor viol players, you just now came across a B flat on the F string. I once had a situation, a very nice situation in a concert, in a course, where I explained on the tenor viol, your B flat is on the F string, 4th finger, 2nd position. The person said, I played 20 years this tenor viol, I never played my B flat there. She was in heaven because she didn't need to change the string. So try, tenor players, please try to explore the B flat on the F string. The same exercise in a way to explore the C string on a detuned instrument, especially in the basses. Play on the C string can practice to find the F sharp. How often do we as a bass player are confronted with the situation that we have to tune our bottom D to bottom C? And then we lost because we don't know where the F sharp is. You can play finding the F sharp on the C string when practicing it. F sharp on the 6th fret. So coming to the 4th position, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th position, we're playing the C scale stroke F scale, starting with the next lower string on the 2nd finger. I just demonstrate. Sorry, extended. As you see, I always had 1 finger more than necessary. Can we try to do this? So going into the 4th position, 1st finger, 4th fret on the string you started, but you put the 2nd finger on the next string lower. Slowly, please. Good luck. This is confusing, but interesting. 3, 4. okay, we might get quite good in doing this because we can hear the pattern. To practice a better orientation, you can make a game and write random notes down and try to play them in different positions on your violin. This might be very useful as well if you have a wolf note. If you play sometimes the wolf note in a different position, the wolf will disappear. So it has all a good reason to learn your fingerboards, that you know all the notes in your 7 frets where they are. The last, I think we come slowly to an end because we're running out of time, but there is a very, very big, of course, subject or technical area which I didn't touch yet. The diatonic fingering on the descant or pas dessus and shifting. Shifting, it's a very big field and will be too much for today to cover.
Peter, thank you very much. Is this a good moment to answer a couple of questions?
Yes. Now I'm officially really towards. I had to shorten it because I run out of time to answer questions. Yeah.
Could I pass you the first question? Well, I'm going to work backwards. Well, this is from John. John is asking something about position. So, John, would you like to ask Peter your question, please? If you unmute yourself and ask him about the hand positions.
Hello, Peter. No, it's just terminology, because I've always understood that what you call first and second position, respectively, are usually called half position and first position in English. I presume in German it's erste Lage and zweite Lage.
Yes. Yes, I don't use the terminology half position. It's for me confusing because when we refer for orientation reasons in the higher positions, it is really clear each fret is the new position according which finger, where the first finger is. Just to make it clear for a good understanding between us.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, it's fine. No, I did understand what you were saying. No problem. Just being pedantic. That's all.
Thank you, John. That's great.
Great to be pedantic and look closely to it. It's great.
Peter, there's another question from Nikki Johns. Nikki, would you like to ask Peter about feet position?
Hi.
Nikki Johns.
Hello.
Yes. Hello, Nikki.
Yeah. Where should your feet be when you're?
It's a very good question. Yeah, one of the pioneer violin players in the 20th century is August Wenzinger. Believe it or not, had his left foot behind and the right foot sticking out. So there are many ways to do it, but the most common way to hold your feet is when on a bass violin, the left foot, both feet tips tilting outwards. You come often across this the saying, put your heels on the floor, so no, not on tiptoes. But if you look at old paintings or the famous picture of Simpson, he has heels on. So if you feel more comfortable with playing on tiptoes and raising your heels off the floor, this might be perfectly okay. I have my feet on the bass violin flat on the floor, tips tilting out, left foot further away from the body than the right foot, according to the size of the violin, which comes again to the finding the right position that you don't hit your leg. Main thing is that the violin sits high enough on your palms. This is very important. The feet, yes, the normal situation is there. Then on the bass violin, the left heel can't touch the right foot. On the smaller violin, you might be on the tenor violin, you might touch the feet like this. Or on the descant violin, you might cross your legs. Some descant player play like this, with the knees tilting to each other. It's I don't know if this looks very graceful. If you listen to or remember Ganassi, who says you should look graceful when you're playing your violin, and if your knees or feet coming out towards the bottom, I don't know how graceful this is. But if it feels comfortable, why not? Also, to make a better holding of your violin, you can use anti-slip cloth, which many people do. I don't do it. Yeah, it comes back to feeling comfortable. I, for many years, was so prone to a sitting chair, which is also the height of the sitting chair seemed to be very important. And I played for many years on a height of 48.5 centimeters without shoes. I was so attached to this that I couldn't play in shoes on a concert chair which was perhaps 50 centimeters high or 47. I felt ridiculous, and I think Rousseau made a comment about this in his thesis from 1687. Don't be too used to one height of the chair. You don't want to look silly. So I think we need to be all flexible. Every movement needs to be flexible, but we need to know where we are on the fingerboard. So flexibility is good, but not random.
That's great. So we've got one other issue from Elaine earlier on when you were playing the scales in high position. Elaine was on a tenor viol and she just wanted to clarify the notes that was being played. Elaine Mordaunt, would you like to ask Peter yourself this issue, or is it now okay? Or,
Don't worry now.
No, it's okay. It's
but I didn't know where you were playing.
The notes were the same. The tenor viols played an F scale, and the bass viols or descant viol played a C scale, so the fourth string from the top. So the first note in the fourth position is, of course, on the C string, on the 5th fret, 2nd finger. C string, 5th fret, 2nd finger, playing the 4th position.
5th string.
5th string on the C string, 2nd finger on the 5th fret.
Oh, 5th fret.
Yes. This is the C, this is the F. This would be the starting note of your F scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't find where to start on any of the scales because it didn't sound right.
Don't worry. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, but I knew what you were trying to do. Yeah.
I think it was just a brain teaser there.
Yes.
As well. Right, two more issues here. I've got one comment from John again about feet position, and John is saying that he had to stop crossing his legs when playing the treble some years ago because of sciatica pain. Now there's a comment from Madeline, and she was just wondering if there is a finger charge anywhere which gives good finger chart. Finger chart. Yeah. Which gives good fingerings for the different scales in different positions. So she's okay finding the notes, but not so sure about what fingering to use. Is there a book or a manual that you could recommend?
I don't know of any of those. I make my own charts and hand them out to students. So there might be something around. We in the wild world are not so advanced. I find still like the cello player or violin players where you can find any exercise for any problem. I think there's a lot of groundwork, but there might be something around. Sorry, Edie.
Yes, there is a scale book published by. Can't remember. It's an Italian publishing company, and the author is Paolo Biordi.
Yes, I have this as well. This is Ebi, good that you mentioned. This is a very useful book. I recommend it sometimes to my students. This is it's also about scales, but often also about broken chords and going over the whole fingerboard. It's a very good, but it's for bass viol.
Any other questions? I think we've probably come to the end of the lesson. And
sorry, can I just say one sentence towards the end to round it up? I enjoyed very much the session, and I don't know how the feedback will be because I couldn't really interact with you. But I would like to say to everybody, every change, bow or position must be organic. You are somewhere, you change and found something new. I wish you all the best by exploring your changes. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Peter. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. And can I just say thank you also to Mary Iden, Mary somewhere around, for organizing this session. Now, as I said earlier, it's now time to go into breakout rooms. So I'm going to